Whoa! Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the HG Red Comet sort of revive kit that we've been waiting for a long time after we had the Revive HG Gundam and then a series of HGUC Revive kits. We wonder, when is there going to be an HGUC Revive Zaku? Well, this doesn't have the Revive title, but it's basically... Finally, we got a new HG Zaku kit. And of course, we had a lot of new, really great HG Zaku kits in the Origin line. But this is obviously the HGUC version, so it's going to be a little bit different. On the front, box art there, featuring the signature Char's kicking pose there, so very cool box art here for this. This is part of the 40th anniversary Gunpla with that logo up there in the corner, and I'm excited for this kit. I love a good Zaku, and this should be nice. I really enjoyed pretty much all of the Revive kits, and even the ones that came out later on that were not, again, technically carrying the Revive title, like some of the Seed kits, like the HG Force Impulse, and things like that that came out that were, again, also basically Revive kits, just without the title on it. So, let's get into it here with Char's Zaku II. On the ends of the box there, you can see this is number 234 in the HGUC line. And then on the bottom of the box there, we get a look at what the kit is going to look like when it's all painted up and everything. It looks fantastic. I'm assuming this is going to be engineered in a way with virtually no seam lines on it as well too, so that'll be pretty cool. We'll see how especially that shoulder looks. The shoulder is a very typical place for seam lines on a HG Zaku kit, but the action posing looks fantastic. This has two different types of skirting armor. It does include a soft type and a hard type that you'll be able to choose from. We'll take a look at that once we pop the box open. And then just some more of the articulation gimmicks. The weapons are pretty standard: Heat Hawk, Zaku Machine Gun, Zaku Bazooka, everything you would expect. And around on the other side of the box, we've just got a little CG image there with some information in Japanese and in English, basically just some information about Char and Char's Zaku II there. So that's pretty much it on this side. Let's go ahead and get it opened up. In here we've got 4 bags of runners there, one of them just being this tiny one there for the soft parts. And our instruction manual here. For the front of the manual, it looks like we've got the same typical style HGUC design here, just a big image of the mobile suit, and it actually seems like kind of slightly larger than usual, the image at least, I mean, compared with this, but it's a nice big reference image there if you want to use that for while you're painting the kit. Around here on the back, we got some more information there in Japanese and English about the Heat Hawk, the Zaku Machine Gun, the Zaku Bazooka, so some nice posing options there, showing you that if you would want some nice reference for how to pose your kit, you can just refer to some of these pictures here, so that's nice. More information down here looks to be the same basically as what's on the outside of the box, I think, and then the color guide down here as well, which is all in there in Japanese and English also. Inside here we've got our parts list, and it looks like, once again, no polycaps with this kit. A very small sticker sheet, or just the one mono eye sticker, it looks like. Maybe one or two parts that are not going to use that'll be left over, otherwise you're going to be using everything here. And then it just goes through the construction, so that'll go from the body, head, arms, legs, and then back around here we do have some color pages where it's going to show you how to make the waist section, and again you have the choice whether you want to make the hard type or the soft type. I'm definitely going to prefer the hard type for painting, but I will show you guys what the soft type looks like once we get this all built up anyway, just in case any of you are wondering about that. It looks like we do have an action base adapter for this as well, that's interesting. Weapons, and then that's just it, how to equip the weapons. So let's just go ahead and get a look at the runners. So yep, here's that little sticker sheet, just the one there for the mono eye, very nice. And runner A here is a 4-color runner. We got some dark red here and up there, some of that kind of more salmony pink color over there for the tubing parts, and then some dark gray, basically black parts around through here. This is in a kind of softer plastic, looks like, for the tube bits, and wondering what's missing from this section over here. Something for another variant, I suppose, probably. And then runner B1 here is all in that salmony pink color, and then B2 is a copy of this half of the runner over here. Now, one thing that I want to point out about these two is that so far these runners are just labeled Zaku II, so it's very likely we will get just a normal green version of this kit out later on. And over here we can see the parts for the head, so this is for making the commander fin antenna head. And this section that's missing here, I can only guess that this is where it's going to be the part for the top of the head without an antenna. So with this kit you can't build the kit without this antenna on the top of the head unless you fill that in with some putty or something. So that's Bandai's clever way of making you have to buy the kit again later if you want to have just the regular standard type without an antenna on top of its head. Runner C1 here is going to be all of our joint parts in this really dark metallic gray here, and hand parts, things like that on there as well. It's looking very similar to the Origin, at least from what I can tell at a glance in terms of its construction, but some parts a little bit different or not the same as what's used for the Origin kits. And then runner C2 is a copy of this half of the runner here. Runner D here is going to be our skirt parts for the soft type, so this isn't like a soft rubbery kind of plastic that you guys know I don't like, so I'm glad that we have the option with this, because I definitely would not prefer to use this. I'll definitely be using the hard type, but these parts do look pretty interesting. And then runner E is back to that same dark gunmetal-y kind of color here for a couple more hand parts there, it looks like, and then all of our weapons parts on here. And just to check, this runner is actually from 2012, so these weapons parts are not new for this kit actually, which is a little bit unfortunate, but they look nice anyway, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, that they're not new. I just kind of wish that they would have went with some new designs, that they would have made some new ones for this kit. So there we have it. Even though this is not an Origins Zaku, I have a feeling that construction is going to be, pretty familiar, because I've built a ton of those, so this is probably going to be, along similar lines, but I'll see just how similar or different it is here soon enough. Let me get it all built up and then we'll have a look. Here it is, all built up, and yeah, I gotta say, it was a really fun and nice, interesting kit to build. It seems, very similar to my thoughts on building the HG RX-782 Beyond Global Gundam kit recently. This one as well had a very unique construction to it. There were some aspects, kind of most notably in like the legs, that felt very similar to the Origin Zaku kit, but a lot of it was very different. The torso design, the way those parts go together, even the arms, the elbow joints, it's all quite different from the way the Origin kits goes together. So I figured it was going to be kind of similar, but it really wasn't that similar to the construction of those at all. Now, obviously, on the outside, this kit is not near as detailed as the Origin kits are. Unfortunately, I do like all the detail on those Origin kits, but this one is pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look. So for our different hand options, we've got these two holding hands for the left and the right, and we've also got trigger finger hands for both the left and the right as well. And then we've got an open hand, or like a rifle support hand, for the left side, and then for the right side we have an additional holding hand. Now the difference between these two holding hands for the right is that the grip on the inside is a little bit different for holding different type of weapons. And again, these weapons are all from the Johnny Ridden's HGUC Zaku II, so not new, but the camera on here moves, this handle moves forward and back. This just has a plug on the side of the handle on both the left and the right side, so again, no matter which side you wanted to use this on, you could swap that around like that. You could make this a left-sided use weapon, I suppose. This ammo drum here on the top is removable. You can pull that off there for whatever reason if you wanted to, and you do have a spare one of those which can attach onto the back skirt of the hard type back skirt, not the soft type back skirt. The soft type is what I've got on here for the time being, so that's what I wanted to show you guys first, and this has no port to plug that onto there. It also has no port on the side skirt for plugging a heat hawk onto there, so you can't plug that onto here. Here is just the heat hawk with the attachment piece for that, so this attachment piece is what would allow you to plug this onto the side skirt if you're using the hard type side skirt or the skirting armor, but if not, then you can't use that. But there's how that looks, just pretty simple, straightforward. And then the Zaku Bazooka, so this one as well, the front handle will move up and down, the camera will move back and forth. No sticker for that camera at all in this case. This main handle will also move forward and back, so that's good for ease of getting that up over the shoulder. This one will have a seam line down the middle of that, unfortunately. But just going around here to the back skirt, you can flip this part down for storing this onto the back skirt here. That just plugs up onto there like that, and it feels like a pretty strong connection. It's not super strong, it does kind of fall off there relatively easy, I think. You also have a very unique little action base adapter which will go up underneath the back skirt here. That plugs into there, and then you can see that's where you'll plug your action base into right there for the connection point for that. Pretty interesting. And of course you have your hard type skirting armor, so in a little bit I'm going to switch this out because this is what I plan to use with mine. I don't plan on using the soft type rubber parts with mine, but just for the time being we'll use those. And then you do have two leftover parts. One is just a kind of inconsequential joint part. The other one is just this part here, which was used with the Johnny Ridden Zaku for attaching the different weapons onto the side of the shield, but unfortunately this part doesn't fit on this shield. As you can see, the size doesn't match up, so that doesn't fit onto there. Now what does fit onto here, as you can see from these little holes here, is the bazooka ammunition from the Origins kits. You can plug onto the side of here, so if you wanted to use the HG Origins Zaku bazooka and that extra ammunition, you can plug onto the side of the shield here, so that's pretty cool. But unfortunately this part, which I much prefer actually, does not fit on there, so I don't think that would take much modification to get that to work. It should just basically be a little bit of cutting. You should be able to get it on there. For the articulation, it's pretty nice here. The head ball joint, it seems like this peg for the ball joint there is up quite high, which I noted during the live stream. I believe that here is so that you can get a much higher and lower articulation here out of that. So you can get the head up all the way to there, which is really quite nice. And then this whole section does also bend forward and back as well, so you can bend that forward, but you can get a really far bend up to the front as well for that. So if you wanted to have this up like looking off to the side or something like that, you could have it posed like that, which is pretty cool. So of course it also rotates. And then also, just like with the Origins kit, you have a little switch up underneath the snoot there for turning the mono eye from side to side. I find using the heat hawk to do that is a pretty good way to do it, so you can rotate that off to the side for your mono eye to look off to the side like that. Now this shoulder armor shield fell off of there, sorry about that. We do have a little bit of a stomach crunch here, forward and back, forward to about there. Again, not too bad. Side to side, you know, maybe a little tiny bit, not really too much, but the articulation here in the side of the torso is really quite interesting. So on the Origins kits, this part on the side of the body could like collapse in a little bit, but in this one, if you pull that apart a little bit, it's basically connected into there via a ball joint, so this whole section can move around in basically every which way around on there, which is pretty awesome there for the side of the torso. Instead of just moving like on the Origin kit, just forward and back a little bit, that's it. This one can move around everywhere. And the shoulder joint itself then can swing the arm out really far to the front there as well. And this is again just not using polycaps, this is actual just pieces there for that. The shoulder armor itself is one solid piece with no seam line on there. Very nice to see that. Just the one center spike is molded together with that. The spikes on the front and the back are separate parts that you plug onto there, and it's just plugged onto here by a very simple ball joint. So that is just on there. It can move around a little bit, but basically you can get the arm up to about 90 degrees before that's going to be popping off that shoulder armor off the top of there. And then we've got some rotation at the top of the arm. Then you also have rotation at the elbow as well too. So you got 2 points of rotation there, and then a nice double joint for the elbow as well, which will give you a nice full bend. The wrist is attached via a ball joint, but then you have a second ball joint here. So you have ball joint and then ball joint. So you can get a little bit more movement there at the front of the forearm as well, as long as you don't pop that out. So again, just be careful with that. Unfortunately, we still have a seam line here on this part of the forearm there. So this lower section is a one solid piece, but this upper kind of part of the forearm there, middle section of the forearm, you still have a seam line there, unfortunately. For the rubber skirting armor here, it's all just gonna be able to move, you know, as you might expect with it being just soft rubber, so everything on here just kind of moves softly like that. The hip joint is not necessarily really anything special, it's just pegged onto there, and that's just kind of it. So you have up and down movement. Of course, with the soft type skirting armor, it's going to move up really far, and that won't be a problem at all. Moving the legs out, you can also get them completely out to the side there without any trouble, so we'll have to see how that changes once you get the hard type skirting armor on there. Then rotation at the top of the leg, and then a nice double joint there at the knee. This part is going to bend well enough to get a pretty good knee bend there with the separation of that knee armor there. Also, again, no seam lines here. You do have a little bit of mold line on the thigh, but no seam line anywhere. The seam line on the front is covered by this part. The seam line on the back of the leg is just made up as a panel line here on that section, and this lower section of the leg is a separate piece that plugs up onto there, so that's handled pretty well. And the ankle joint is new for this as well too, so you get a pretty nice amount of articulation here at the ankle, so side to side is pretty good here, up and down is also pretty nice, and this front part of the foot is attached via a ball joint, so that will be able to move just kind of as you need it to as well. And then up underneath the feet, you got nice full detail there also. Overall, very nice in the way of articulation. But there you have it. I mean, it really took Bandai a long time to get around to making what is essentially a revived Zaku II. I really would have expected it a long time ago, but you know, finally it's here and it doesn't disappoint. Some people might be a little bit disappointed by the fact that it doesn't really have very much in the way of surface detail. We talked about this a little bit during the live stream that, you know, looking at this compared to the old HGUC Zaku II, you know, there's on the surface level, there's not a whole lot of noticeable difference. I mean, they do look quite similar. It's only when you see it posed and you see all the articulation, you see all the added engineering into this version of the kit that you can see how much better this is, of course, miles ahead of the old HGUC kit. So it's definitely a very welcome release. It's just kind of strange why it took Bandai so long to get around to it. But anyway, it's finally here. I'm sure we'll see at least the green standard type variation of this sometime in the next few months, likely, or the beginning of next year. And then after that, I'm not sure what else they'll go. if they'll have maybe like a Garma Zabi's version as well, or probably as a P-Bandai kit, of course, or if they'll make a high mobility type variation of this. Again, I'm not really too sure where they'll go with it, but you know, we'll see. All I can say is if you guys are wondering which one you should get between this or one of the Origin kits, I still think I kind of prefer the Origin kits. There are some small pros and cons. I think the main difference is going to mostly be aesthetic. Both of the kits are, I think, really great kits. If you prefer the much more detailed and a little bit different more proportions of the Origin kit, then I would say go for that. If you like this one just being a little bit more kind of plain on the surface, but not in a bad way, I don't think. I think it looks nice just how it is. Or you might want to go in and detail it up some more by yourself, and that's, I think, something you could definitely do with this as well. I think either version of the kits between this or the Origin Zaku II, you're not going to be going wrong. I mean, you're going to get a great kit either way, so it's just kind of up to you which style you prefer. So that's going to be about it for the review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other further questions or comments, of course, do feel free to leave those down below. As always, guys, thank you to USA Gundam Store as well for their support. If you guys want to check the link to USA Gundam Store, that's down below. You can use my coupon code there as well and save 10% off everything on the site. So until next time, I hope you guys are all having a great day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.